I wanted to talk about the infrastructure bill going through Congress, U.S. Congress right now. Um, so I'm in favor of the infrastructure bill because I'm a Democrat. All Democrats are in favor of the infrastructure bill because it does things to increase inequality and it does. So let's. The way I want to talk about the infrastructure. So I'm in favor of the whole thing because I think the whole thing is good. But um, let me talk about the pieces by pieces of it so that you can have a dialogue about the individual pieces. The biggest piece of the infrastructure bill that I am sad that they have not included is a basic universal basic income. Okay, I'm sad that they have not included a universal basic income in the infrastructure package, and it almost makes me not even like the package because they do not include a universal basic income, and they have a child tax credit instead. And the child tax credit is supposed to, help people. To me, it almost doesn't make any sense because you have to have a job to get a child tax credit, and it almost doesn't make any sense because it doesn't help inequality as much as a universal basic income would. So I don't really understand the child tax credit. I'm still in favor of the child tax credit. I think it's a good thing. I think it should be included. I just don't understand why that's the centerpiece of the legislation when the universal basic income makes more sense to reduce inequality. Um, so that's one problem I have with the bill. But let's talk about some things I like about the bill. I like the fact that it fights climate change. This is the biggest. The infrastructure bill is the biggest piece of legislation that fights climate change that the United States has ever made, and I think it's great. I think it's going to. I mean, if it continue, if it Joe Manchin wanted to approve it right now, which he probably won't, but um, it would it would improve the power grid, which would avoid things that happened to Texas, like when the Texas froze over and all they lost power for like a week or whatever that was. It's very dangerous for Texas to freeze without having any power. It's very dangerous. Um, and if they improve the power grid like they would in this bill, that wouldn't happen. I mean, if Texas wasn't dependent on their own power supply and they could be attached to the rest of the United States and have better power lines, better connecting all the power plants in the country to people's homes, then I guess I guess more people would survive the dangerous winters. More people would survive the dangerous summers, and people would and it would save the environment because it would reduce CO2 emissions. It would significantly reduce CO2 emissions because you could literally have windmills on the Great Plains going 24/7. You could have solar energy coming from Arizona, which is the desert capital of the United States. So solar panels in Arizona and wind turbines in the Great Plains could, if you had the, if you invest in the power lines, okay, those could power the whole United States. But the power grid isn't good enough right now because the United States hasn't invested in an upgraded power grid. That's what this infrastructure bill is supposed to do. Is supposed to upgrade the power grid. I don't know if it's still in the bill. They might have removed that, to be honest, but that was what it was supposed to do originally. So there's also supposed to be electric vehicle tax credits, which I just read Joe Manchin today is not in favor of the electric vehicle tax credits, which I almost kind of get that because my only problem with the electric vehicle tax, I mean, I was definitely in favor of it in 2010, and I'm still in favor of it now. It's just the only problem with the electric vehicle tax credits is like because they use electricity, like they're not like that good for the environment. They're good for the environment, but they're not that good for the environment. They use electricity, so and the electricity comes from coal a lot of times, and it's just it's like electricity in the United States is at a point right now where it's like 4% renewable, and so like when you convert from a car that runs on gasoline to power plants that run on coal, it's like that 4% of our energy that comes from renewables. That's like that's a big deal. Now, I mean that 4% is so it's basically electric vehicles are basically 4% better than other vehicles. They're not that much better, but they are 4% better, which is a good improvement. And there's a lot of other improvements that have to be done as far as like methane gases and all this other stuff that they need to fix from refrigerators, and like China needs to stop making refrigerators that pump out methane gases, whatever type of gas they're pumping out that's destroying the environment. China has to change that, and we have to tell China we're not going to buy those anymore. We're going to buy them from another producer if you keep making those bad refrigeration products that produce CO2 emissions. But yeah, but electric vehicles are good because 4% improvement is an upgrade. It's a really expensive upgrade. And what Joe Manchin is worried about is inflation. I understand Joe Manchin. I don't hate Joe Manchin like a lot of leftists do. I don't hate Joe Manchin. I respect Joe Manchin. I understand what he's doing. He's trying to turn it into a rational piece of legislation from a far left. The original was like a $5 trillion package, and Joe Manchin's like, I'm not passing a $5 trillion package. I'm just not doing that. I understand what Joe Manchin's doing. Joe Manchin wants like a $300 billion package. He wants a $300 billion package. I get it. And I respect him for that. I don't hate Joe Manchin. I don't even mind Bernie Sanders trying to rack up the price tag. I don't even mind that either. There has to be a left wing of any party. There has to be a moderate wing of any party. I'm not like one of these people that want Joe Manchin to lose his Senate seat or whatever to some Republican. Like a lot of leftists would want Joe Manchin to lose his Senate seat to a Republican just because they're mad at him so much, and that wouldn't help our legislative goals. And that's what a lot of them don't understand. When you push the country so far to the left, you're not going to pass any reasonable legislation in that way. It's just the discussion is going to take way longer than it should. You almost roll your eyes, but that's life. That's politics in 2021, I guess. So Joe, yeah, what was I talking about? The electric vehicle subsidies. That's probably not going to be in the final bill, but I'm in favor of them. Just like the child tax credit, I don't think it's like the greatest gift to the world. That, oh wow, there's electric. It doesn't like save the world having electric vehicle subsidies. I think it's good. I'd vote for it if I had to vote. But I also agree with Joe Manchin that none of this bill is necessary. I understand what Joe Manchin says when he says you could not pass the bill at all, and he'd be fine with that. I understand that because it's not like the child tax credit is like it doesn't help people who don't have kids. It doesn't help fatherless, motherless people. Like not father. I mean, it doesn't help people who aren't parents. And a universal basic income would be a better deal. And the problem is with the child tax credit, it uses money that could be spent on a universal basic income. But I don't care. They'll pass something. The other big part of the infrastructure package is the water pipes. They're gonna try to fix the water pipes so they're not filled with lead. That's a good thing. However, a lot of the lead water pipes are in Michigan and like older places that like yeah, I am in favor of passing legislation to get the lead out of the water because people can't keep being poisoned like that with lead in the water. The problem is it's going to be really expensive to change that for the entire country. And there's a reason they haven't done it already because the country is so big and there's so many water pipes everywhere. All the water pipes everywhere are always wearing out. That's one of the things I never understood about water pipes. How do you install water pipes in like 1930 and then just keep using them for 100 years or 200 years? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that you could install water pipes 100 years ago and just keep using them for eternity. I never understood how water pipes work. I never understood that. And maybe just the old pipes that do it. Maybe the new pipes don't do it. But what are the new pipes using? Plastic? Dude, if you have plastic water pipes, that's going to have, I think the word is called phthalates. I can't pronounce it, but I've read about phthalates. That causes heart disease. So if you're using plastic water pipes, that's going to cause heart disease. And if you're using metal water pipes, that's going to cause poisoning. So whatever you do, it sucks. Everything sucks. I'm just so the other problem is like it's just really expensive. Now, I'm a believer that the United States can just print money, and I'm not worried about the deficit. I'm not worried about the debt. I think the United States should spend more money on money on infrastructure so people aren't getting poisoned by the water pipes. I do agree with that 100%. It just I understand the concept of we have to be frugal with our spending because we're worried about inflation. Because if we keep spending more money, we're going to have inflation. That's a issue people worry about. And then that's the case against the universal basic income is we would have runaway inflation if there was universal basic income. It's the same thing with the infrastructure bill. The debate is like, the thing that I don't like, why are you giving them the money to parents rather than giving the money to people who aren't parents? You're encouraging people to become parents. How does that benefit anyone if you're encouraging people to become parents who wouldn't normally be good at being parents? I don't understand why. Why would the government want to encourage people to become a parent? Give them subsidies? That's like welfare. Do you remember like in the 80s and stuff where like they encourage people, like they give out welfare checks to people to have kids, and a bunch of people had kids that like couldn't afford it, and no, that was a myth. The Cadillac the Cadillac Queen was a myth. I don't believe that was true. But it did encourage people to have children who couldn't afford it. My problem with welfare in back 30 years ago, 40 years ago, wasn't that people took advantage of the system. My problem with the welfare 40 years ago was people acted inappropriately because they wanted, like, I don't know. Like, why do you want to make it easier to be a parent? Why do you want to encourage people to be parents? We have a climate change problem, and we don't need everyone reproducing so much. I mean, we don't need that. I don't think just anybody should be a parent. You have to the right attitude and stuff. And if there's a basic income, you could spend that money on being a parent, or you could spend the money on not being a parent. You can spend it on whatever you want. But I don't understand the logic of like spending money on being a parent. I don't know. And the infrastructure bill does cost a lot of money. Right now it's at like $900 billion, or it's like $1.5 trillion or something. I don't know. It's like $1 trillion right now, and it's probably going to go down to like $300 billion by the time they're done negotiating. The other part of the infrastructure bill is the highway spending, the bridges repair. It's going to repair bridges, it's going to build bridges, and it's going to build highways, which is a good thing. Highway construction is a good thing. I don't believe in highway construction going through cities. I think highway construction should go around cities, not go through them. Because when you go through a city, you ruin the downtown. So as long as they're not building highways through cities, it's fine, I guess. So they're going to build some more highways, whatever. But highways don't actually reduce traffic. Keep that in mind. Highways don't reduce traffic. I guess freight traffic, it could reduce freight traffic, but they don't reduce local traffic. And honestly, even freight traffic, there would just be more freight. If there was more highways, there would just be more freight, which is a good thing. I guess you want more freight, but that would be more production, more tarnish to the environment, and you don't really want people buying more crap with coming in freight from overseas, and I don't know. It's fine. I just feel about this whole infrastructure bill is it's good, but it's not like as important as like Obamacare was in 2010. Obamacare was much more important, and everything in the infrastructure bill is nice, and I like it. I don't think we need any of it to survive. I think the only thing in the infrastructure bill that so the thing I like the most, or improve the electrical grid. That will help fight climate change. And we're gonna have more storms in this country, and we're gonna have more natural disasters. And because there's gonna be more natural disasters, we're gonna need a better power grid. A better power grid would, it would make less wildfires, and it'd help us survive more as a species, and we would be able to use renewable energies better if we had a better power grid. Um, the electric vehicle charging stations is a good idea. They're going to have more electric vehicle charging stations, but just like every other idea is a good idea, but it's not like, I don't know. It's a good idea, but you almost roll your eyes like, is it worth the money? I would vote for it, just like all of this. I would vote for it, but who cares, man? I don't care. I almost don't even care about it. But the other thing is, actually, the other thing so the climate change stuff is the electrical grid is the stuff I like most about the infrastructure bill. The other thing I like the absolute most in this bill is the urban planning stuff. With they're going to encourage localities to upzone the residential areas, and so what I mean is they're going to allow more 2-story, 3-story, 4-story apartments. In the national government is going to give a bond, and they're going to say every locality that encourages more housing will get money from the bond, get money from a government bond. It's going to just give it out to whatever localities encourage more housing. Because we have a homeless crisis in this country. I'm very passionate about the homeless crisis. I sound like one of those, like beauty pageant. I'm very passionate about homelessness. I sound like one of those beauty pageant person that pretends to care. No, I really do care about it because my dad has been homeless for like 20 years. So I do care about the homeless crisis. And so if the national government encouraged localities to build more housing, then homelessness would decrease. You get it? More housing is less homelessness. It's really simple. It's a really simple process to reduce homelessness. But all these stupid cities, they're just like, I don't want that in my backyard. I don't want that in my backyard. Not in my backyard. Not in my backyard. I don't want that in my backyard. And they go through these local city council meetings. Everyone stands up and say, I don't want that 3-story building in my neighborhood. Oh no, a 3-story building in my neighborhood. It's going to ruin the neighborhood character. Oh, the neighborhood character. What are they going to do? The neighborhood character is going to be ruined because they built a 3-story apartment building. Oh, all this stuff. This like NIMBY, not my backyard, and they don't want any construction in their backyard, and it's this big ordeal to get anything built in any city in the United States. It's like this. They go through this like crisis because everyone's worried about their godforsaken home values, and they're like $2 trillion McMansions, and they're worried about their nest egg, and like, if they build a 10-story building there, not in my backyard, because this town won't look like Mayberry from that show from the 1950s or whatever it was called. Like they're so worried about their neighborhood character. And it's like, give me a break. You know when people are homeless in this country and you don't even care about the housing crisis? You don't even care about people living on the streets, people living on vans? You don't care about any of that stuff? Really? What kind of person are you? No, really. What kind of person are you that you don't care about the homeless crisis? Give me a break. You don't care about the homeless crisis. You would rather have your town look the same idyllic way it looked 50 years ago rather than give people homes? You don't want to give people... What is wrong with you? Sicko? You're a sicko. You don't want to give people homes? And it doesn't cost any money. It's just a local zoning regulation thing. It's like local zoning doesn't allow it to be built. because these like 70-year-old people who don't want the neighborhood to get more diverse. I don't want the neighborhood to get more diverse. Oh, go away. These people that don't like diversity, I can't stand them. Oh, I don't like diversity. Oh, just stinks. It just stinks. The whole thing stinks. These people that don't like diversity. You're terrible. And a lot of them are liberals. A lot of them are like liberals that don't want it. A lot of them are like these like crazy conservatives and these crazy liberals, and a lot of the independents do want more more housing, but it's the a lot of the leftists and the conservatives don't want it for different reasons. The conservatives don't want it because they don't want diversity, and the leftists don't want it because it affects neighborhood character. Oh, neighborhood character. It looks like it's from 1960. It looks like this neighborhood is from 1921. Oh, neighborhood character. The leftists don't like neighborhood characters. The leftists only want to keep the neighborhood character that's been the same place for 80 years. And the Republicans don't want more diversity. They both suck. They both totally suck. And I'm sick of it. I'm honestly sick of it. And all these people are terrible. These people are just literally terrible. And I'm sorry. It gets me upset that we allow there to be homelessness in this country. It just gets me upset. Like it just gets me upset that every time they try to do something good, people just put up a sign and say, "I don't want this building to be built here because I'm Debbie Downer and I'm just holy hell." I can't stand the people who the NIMBYs who allow homelessness to happen in their city. It's not that they should make it illegal to be homeless. No, you need to build homes for people. You need to allow developers to just build more houses for people, build more apartments for people, build more dorms, build more micro apartments, build more everything, build more duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, everything. Anything that could bring down the price of rent. The rent is too damn high. You understand? The rent is too damn high. Okay? The rent is too damn high. So could you just... It just bothers me. It bothers me that people don't mind the rent being so high. You want to know why they don't mind the rent being so high? Because these people, they own like $2 million nest eggs in their cul-de-sac McMansion neighborhood. It's big gated community. It doesn't let anybody in. Oh, if you build an apartment complex, it's going to ruin everything. Oh yeah. Listen, I've had it with these NIMBYs. These NIMBYs are why there's homelessness in this country. The NIMBYs, they don't allow public housing to be built. They don't allow market rate housing to be built. They don't allow any housing to be built. So just 3% of the population is just homeless and nobody cares because they just care about their nest egg. Oh, their nest egg is going to be ruined if they build new homes. Oh, how's it going to affect my home value? My home value is all I care about because I can retire and have $1 billion and that's all. Nest egg and jeepers creepers. I mean, really? So the two things I like most about the infrastructure bill is the improvements to the electricity grid, the power lines, the better power lines, I mean, and the other thing is the other thing I like most about the infrastructure bill is the bonds to give money to localities that allow more housing to be built. If you allow more housing to be built, you should get more money from the federal government. So those are the two things I like most about the infrastructure bill. The rest of the bill I like too. I do like the child tax credit, even though I roll my eyes and I say, can't we give some money to the single people? We give some money to the regular people who don't have. I don't know. I just the losers like me who aren't parents. I just feel so frail sometimes. Like no one's ever gonna give me any money. Anyways, So that's the two things I like most about the bill. I like everything else about the bill too. I vote for the bill. But I also understand why Joe Manchin doesn't. It's not that he doesn't support the bill. It's just that he wants it to be a little smaller, and I get that too. I get that he doesn't like everything in the bill. I understand Joe Manchin. I get it. And I also understand why Bernie Sanders wants it to be a $5 trillion bill. I understand that too because there's a lot of inequality in this country, and they should do more to fight inequality, and they should do that. Anyways, but I also understand the United States isn't Europe in the sense that we don't spend as much money on social safety net programs because we have a different I don't know. The United States doesn't historically spend as much money on social safety net programs because we focus more on corporations, for better or for worse. But then again, a lot of the corporations in the world are based in the United States. As far as like, a lot of the business happens in the United States because there's a lot more venture capital in the United States. And I guess the idea is we want to keep the venture capital and the tech companies in the United States rather than have them not be created at all. Because I don't think Europe is going to create very many tech companies except for like Spotify and a few others. So I think the idea is they want growth in the United States, and if you have too many taxes, then it might slow down growth. So that's the logic. And if they don't raise taxes, then that could cause inflation. Blah 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 blah. So I understand Joe Manchin. I think they're going to pass something eventually. I hope they pass something eventually. I hope it works out. I do hope that Biden gets his signature legislative achievement, and I hope it works out. I'm glad it passed the House, but I understand why it's a slow process, and it's like it's a weird thing, but I get it. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the infrastructure bill? Tell me what are your opinions about the politics of with Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell. Let me know what you think of what's going on in Washington in the comments below. Please subscribe to this channel to be part of the community. Please like this video. It really helps out this channel a lot. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.